Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Spencer Penrod. I'm a world builder who makes worlds for stories, for D&D campaigns, things like that. I've been doing it for years and am starting to try applying some of the skills I've gained from that towards analyzing media. Today we're going to be looking at MILGRAM. MILGRAM? I don't know. Um, I don't know anything about it. I'm going in blind, once again, at the recommendation of my brother, Ink Writes on YouTube, who does similar reaction type content, but from like a literary analysis perspective. Um, I the only thing I know is that the first 5 videos are like a tutorial. I don't understand what that means. I don't know why there's a tutorial. I think it's some kind of interactive game slash video series. But yeah, we'll see what's going on and see if we can pick out some interesting details about the world. Hopefully we like looking at it, and I think it'll be a pretty long series if we end up sticking with this. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump right in and see if we can knock out those 5 videos at the start.
Yo! 起きたかい ?S。あ
Okay, so Jackalope, I'm thinking, is the name of bunnies with horns, right? Weird that the very first thing we're seeing is one of them talking. It isn't opening and closing its mouth as it talks, which makes me think that the voice is projected from something other than vocal cords. The horns are red, which makes them look kind of bloodstained. I am not sure if that's just how they look or if it really is stained with something. The other stuff that stands out to me is it's wearing some kind of like military looking uniform. There are a lot of things that look like they could be letters or meaningful symbols on it, but they don't look like any language that I'm aware of. They don't really hold any meaning to me. The interesting thing about the design, though, is that it's clearly like made for this bunny. Like obviously because he's wearing it. But it makes me wonder if there are lots of small little animals in this organization, or if this creature just made its own outfit to fit for itself. It looks like we have forgotten our memory, but our name is S. I'm trying to see if there's anything else interesting here. It looks like we are in some kind of bedroom or maybe just like a studio apartment. I think there are only 2 things that stand out to me here that I can say anything about. One is the drink, which looks like some kind of tea or maybe coffee. I think a tea, though. And then the other one is this thing. I can't tell if it's a window or if it's a painting. I'm leaning towards window because it would be weird for a painting to have so much of it be black and empty. If it is a window, then I don't think we're on Earth because there's nothing like that in the sky. So yeah, I'm interested to see what's going on. Oh, Jackalope in the title. So I think I was right when I said that. That's what I was thinking I said. But yeah, at least we know for sure the name of the bunny thing. Yeah, so interesting details so far. Though if we're not on Earth, it's weird that everything does look so Earth-like. We are in the same uniform, by the way. But the fact that 2 very, very different species are included in that organization. Makes me wonder about what kind of structure it is, if it's some kind of like group that includes aliens or monsters or magical creatures or whatever this thing is, um, as just part of the default, or if there's something very special about the Jackalope that makes it stand out. Um, but at the very least, we know it's not exclusively small animals for now. So that's good.
よう起きたかい ?S。あウサギが喋ってる忘れちまってんのか。そっか。そうだったな。悪い悪い。俺様の名前はジャッカロープ。このスーパーかっけえ角を見てみろ。全然ウサギじゃねえ。二度と言うな。まあそうだな。簡単に言うと、お前の世話係だと思ってくれや。
So, if the Jackalope here is our caretaker, then that implies that it's outside of the normal structure of this organization, which makes me think that it's probably not actually military in nature. If it's still getting the uniform, but it's just a caretaker, I guess it could also maybe imply that it's our superior, and what a superior officer does is take care of those under them. But if it's literally just the caretaker, then it would be weird for them to be like part of the same military structure, which makes me wonder if this is more like a school with some kind of dress code that has military vibes, or something else.
じゃあ早速お前の仕事について説明しとくか。S。お前の仕事はこの監獄ミルグラムの監視。
Okay, we're the guard of a prison, which means it's a prison outfit. Still kind of weird that the bunny is outfitted like that if it's outside of the normal thing. I'm also noticing we have, I'm pretty sure this is Japanese characters. And if that's the case, it's weird that we've got what is probably Japanese, maybe Chinese. Maybe I'm just wrong. But we definitely have English. And then we also have what looks like gibberish, some kind of unknown language here. Maybe I'm showing ignorance and that is a real thing, but I'm almost positive that that isn't a real language. So it's strange to see the mix in something that is being presented within the world.
囚人どもの管理をすればいいんだ。どうだ
It was also notable to me that he said we were the guard of the prison rather than a guard. We've got a pretty nice room, it looked like. Yeah, so we are the guard of this prison. We have a pretty nice room and someone dedicated to our care, which makes me think that we really are probably the only guard or some kind of special guard, because it would be weird for them to put a lot of effort if there were many guards. That makes me think this is a really, really small prison, because there's no way that one guard could handle a huge amount of prisoners. It might also be a translation thing. Maybe the translation to English here, which I don't think is automatic. I'm pretty sure it's like curated, but still it could be just a quirk of that translation calling us the guard instead of a guard.
この監獄ミルグラムの看守だ。囚人どもの管理をすればいいんだ。どうだ簡単だろその上3食昼寝もついてる。最高な職場だろ
3 meals a day and nap time. Nap time is really weird to me because we are presumably an adult, or at least grown up enough to have a job. Um, and it's not like adults don't need naps, but to have that baked into the structure is really weird, especially if we are the only guard, because you would think that the guard needs to be alert throughout the day to keep an eye on the prisoners. That makes me think prisoners have mandated nap time to be able to do this, or that we're not actually the only guard, like that line implied.
このミルグラムには今10人の
10 prisoners, so I was right that it's tiny, which makes me think we are the only guard after all.
囚人が収監されてる。どいつもこいつもパッと見シュッとした見た目のやつらだけどね。騙されんじゃねえぞ。
Okay, this is the layout of the prison. It's a strange layout, for sure. It looks almost like a key. But I don't think I've really got anything to say. It would be easier if I could read what any of this text is supposed to be saying. There's a lot of rooms here for just one guard and 10 prisoners. It's not a ton, I guess. Like, this could be like some kind of workout area or yard. And then we've got like, I don't know, bathrooms or showers or my bedroom and an administrative room. So I guess maybe it's not that much. Those are all totally arbitrary, of course. It could be anything. But I'm just saying, maybe it's not that weird, this size. The shape is definitely strange, though.
あいつらは漏れなく人殺しで。ただ、どうやって何があって何を思ってあいつらが人の命を奪ったのか。
That's weird that you've got prisoners, but you don't know their motive, you don't know how they killed someone, and you don't even know what happened. It sounds to me like you don't actually have a lot to incarcerate someone. I know the way prisons work is different depending on what country you're in, but I'm pretty sure that you need proof in most places to incarcerate someone. So the fact that these people are being kept in a tiny prison, and it sounds like they don't know any detail except that they're definitely murderers, but we don't know how or why. It's just strange. It makes me think that policing and judgment and things like that are in the hands of some kind of ruling class that isn't necessarily bending to the whims of the citizens, that they kind of just do their own thing. And these people were deemed guilty without much process, maybe because they actually were, but likely there's a lot of chance for a system like that to misdiagnose a situation, falsely imprison someone. So I wonder if part of what we're going to be doing is, I mean, it sounds like part of what we're going to be doing is figuring out motives and how they killed someone, but I wonder if part of what we're going to be doing is finding out if anyone is innocent as well.
わからねえ。その真相と理由を解明すんのも。
Okay, yeah, so that's not what prison guards do. That's what, like, detectives do. It's weird that you are putting this burden onto a guard. Again, that seems like there's not really a traditional policing force that would take care of this kind of a thing. Because, actually, did he call this a special prison earlier? Am I remembering that right? No, just called it a prison. I just don't see why you would incarcerate someone and then try and find things out. Also, to find out the truth and their motives. The truth is a weird thing to say, because this Jackalope is telling us that the truth is that they have killed someone. So what is there beyond that to find out? The motive makes sense that they would want to figure that out. But yeah, I'm not sure what kind of truth they're expecting us to find.
解明すんのも看守であるお前の仕事で。その上で囚人たちを許
Okay, I was right. We need to figure out if someone is innocent. But we are a prison guard. We have to keep them in line. You've told us they're all murderers, but now you're saying they might be innocent. You're also saying that we need to find this out within the confines of the prison, it sounds like. So all we're going to be able to do is maybe look at case files and then do interviews, right? So that seems like a really inefficient way to find out the truth. And I would assume there's not even case files if they're relying on a prison guard to find this kind of stuff out instead of a detective. That makes me think that maybe we're some kind of special prison, like an experiment or something that is meant for cases where they just can't turn up anything. They must really put a lot of stock into our, I guess, ability to talk with people and read into details and things like that. It's also weird that we're deciding this after they've been imprisoned, which makes me wonder if this is less of a prison and more of a jail where they're being held until sentencing happens. And when we decide that someone is guilty, then some judgment gets passed upon them. I'm guessing that judgment won't be imprisonment. It'll probably be like execution, based on the fact that they already seem to be imprisoned despite the lack of evidence.
許すかどうか決めてくれ。そうだ。看守であるお前には許す許さないを決める権利がある。どうやってあいつらの罪を分かれば
It's weird to say we have the power. Like, obviously, it's implied that we have the power to deem them innocent or guilty when he says that that's our job. But this is also sounding like we're not even trying to decide it and then, like, present our case to a judge. It sounds like we are the judge. And we just need to look at who we have, learn about them, and then we have the power to pass a verdict without any oversight. I'm starting to think prison guard is a very poor name for our job, because it doesn't sound like there's deliberation with anyone else. It sounds like we are entirely responsible for the verdict here. And that makes me think that we are basically a judge slash guard slash detective, bundling up way too many jobs into one. I can't imagine how we're effective at any of them. That makes me feel like we are maybe some kind of nobility or something similar, where the process isn't as important as the opinion of the person passing it. And if we're part of a ruling class that doesn't really care to justify their actions, then it would make sense that we are capable of holding so much power over these prisoners. But if that's not the case, or if we're not directly appointed by someone in that situation, then it really just kind of feels like gross mismanagement of what the process should be. I'm also wondering, it seems like it might only be us and the Jackalope here. So why do we have matching uniforms? Uniforms are what you need when you have a large amount of people. You don't need to give them to someone with like a singular distinctive job, because there's just not a point. You want conformity and regularity. So I wonder if there are more prisons like MILGRAM, and if they all have a similar uniform and that's why, or if we represent some particular class, maybe not a ruling class, but like some kind of caste responsible for judgment like this, and that we dress like this to distinguish ourselves as part of that group. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what it's implying right now.
どうやってあいつらの罪を分かればいいのかって？拷問？脅迫？いやいや、そんな前時代的なことをする必要はねえ。ミルグラムでは、奴らの心象風景を歌と映像にして
What? So we're mind reading them, but the only way we can read their minds are as music videos. I don't know if this is technology or magic, but either way, I think that implies society places a lot of importance on music, to the point where really advanced technology or really advanced magic is developing inextricably tied to music, because it's just such a foundational part of society. Because otherwise, it just doesn't make sense. Like, there has to be some translation going on. People don't think about their lives and actions as music videos. So you're not just extracting their memories, you're transforming them. And if that process isn't able to be separated, you can't just extract memories purely, they have to be translated. That tells me that the way that they understand thought and brains and the inner workings of the mind is so thoroughly steeped in music that they can't, maybe it's not that they can't comprehend thinking of another way to do this, but that everything is based so much upon the one pillar of music that it would be really, really hard to branch off and use some other foundation. Although I guess if things were so based around music, maybe people here do think about their lives in music videos. And that makes the process easier. That would be interesting.
抽出することができる。お前はそれを見て、聞いて、楽しんでるだけでいい。どうだい？すげえご機嫌なシステムだろ？まあ、一定の時間を空けないと使えないし、一度に全ての新種を取り出せるわけじゃないのがたまに傷だけどね。まあ、じっくり行こうや。囚人番号順に一人一人観察していけばいいんだ。厳密にはちょっと意味が違うんだが、ミルグラムは三神性ってのを取っている。お前はあいつらの罪を許すか許さないかを一日一回投票する権利がある。全員の歌を聴き終えたあたりで集計するんだが、それを3回繰り返してもらう。
Okay, that's weird. Because if there's votes, that means there are other people in a similar position to me. We don't have singular authority, which makes the uniforms make sense and makes it a little less crazy that someone is a detective and a guard and a judge all in one. It sounds more like we are part of a jury, but we're not meeting the other jurors. We're just putting in votes independent. Weird. I wonder if the other people are also guards, or if we're the only guards and other people just get to vote. I do think this is a little bit breaking the fourth wall. Like, I think from what I've heard, people actually vote on the outcomes of these videos. So that's probably what this is talking about. But it's presenting it as the way that the world works as well. So I don't think we can just brush it off and say, no, this is just something thrown in to like tutorialize the audience on how to watch these videos, how to participate in them. I think that there's definitely meaning here. But the implications of it are strange if we're the only guard. I feel like that is what a lot of this boils down to for me, is if we are the only guard, then like where are these other votes coming from? And why don't they have to be a guard? Or why do I have to be a guard when they don't? Maybe the people voting can be anyone, and because they can be anyone, this time one of them is a prison guard, and it's just a coincidence. But that feels... I don't want to write things off as a coincidence like that so early on. It feels a little cheap.
故に三振制ってな。で、今から始まるのが第一審だ。第一審が終わった時に、お前が囚人どもの罪を許したか許さなかったかで、次の第二審期間中のあいつらへの処置が変わるってわけ。俺様的にはめんどくせえから全員許さなくていいんだけどね。許したか許さなかったかによって第二審であいつらから出てくる歌にも変化があるかもしれねえ。それによって見方が変わっちまうこともあるかもね。
So, why would our judgment affect the songs that can be extracted? He also said our judgment will affect how they're treated. So I'm assuming if we vote someone guilty, they'll get a less sympathetic representation in the second round. So that makes me think that whatever technology or magic or whatever is extracting these memories is really biased. It's biased based on the total votes, which means that I suppose it could mean a few things. It could mean that we tell the prisoners the current state of the votes and say, all right, round one is over and you've been deemed guilty. And then it affects their mental state and they subconsciously think of things differently because they've been deemed guilty. And that's why the difference is seen. That makes the most sense to me and is the least unfair of the options. It could also mean that whoever is in charge of extracting the memories can do so or can influence what they extract, which seems horribly unfair to these prisoners. If they can presume guilt and then extract something that makes them look more guilty because they have presumed guilt, that makes it seem like it's going to be really hard for anyone to break out of this system and be deemed completely innocent, because there's already some presumption of guilt because they've been imprisoned. So I think if that's the case, then we definitely need to take these videos with a grain of salt. And honestly, even if it was the first option, we would need to do that, because being thrown in prison tells you that people think you are a wrongdoer, that you are guilty of something. So even if the reason that this is going to affect future rounds is because it affects the mental state of the prisoners, we still have to be wary in the first round because they're not being treated like they're innocent or like they've done nothing wrong. The presumption of guilt is there and is going to be influencing the direction of these videos. The last thing I could think of, which I don't think makes much sense, is that to counterbalance bias, the extraction process gets the opposite of the presumption. So if we presume someone is guilty, it extracts something that makes them look more innocent to counteract the bias that we have from previous rounds. That feels really strange as well. I guess more fair than the second option. But again, it would just be intentionally messing with things based on decisions we've already made. In that case, I feel like if we see like this first round mostly makes people seem innocent, then that probably means the third option is what we're seeing, because it would have to present them to be innocent to counterbalance the bias of them already being imprisoned. If we see them mostly leaning towards being guilty, then it's probably the second option or maybe the first option. And if we see a mix of them, then it's probably the first option. It'll take us a while to narrow that down and figure it out. But I am interested to see if we learn more details about why things work this way.
何が出てくるかわかんねえぜ。それもこの仕事の醍醐味だと思ってくれや。一曲聞いたくらいで何を許せばいいのか、何を許さなきゃいいのかわかんねえよって。確かにな。さっき言った通り、一度に全てがわかるわけじゃねえからな。囚人によっちゃ、第一審じゃ何が罪かすらわかんねえやつもいるかもしれない。いいんだよ。
He's saying we might not even know what their sins are from the first trial. How on earth are we supposed to vote if someone is guilty without knowing what they've done wrong? Or presumably done wrong. This is a very strange system. It makes me feel like maybe, no, almost definitely the purpose of this isn't to punish criminals. The purpose is some kind of social experiment with the voters. Some kind of thing they're doing to learn about how we interpret people rather than trying to punish the guilty, because this is just like one of the least efficient ways I could imagine trying to find out whether someone was guilty. So if these prisoners are just here as fodder for whatever social experiment is going on, then the outcome is irrelevant, whether they're innocent or guilty. What we need to pay attention to is how it's making us think and feel, and what purpose they have in making us feel those ways. I'm also wondering why we've lost our memory. Especially if memory is apparently something that can be extracted. It's a little suspicious that we have no memory. I think they might have taken our memory on purpose to make us more of a blank slate. And that this is some kind of conditioning or training to get into a particular mindset so that we can be more efficient at a job similar to this in the future. At least that's my current working theory.
わかんねえときはお前の感性と直感で許せるかどうか。
What do those say? I can't tell. They're too blurry.
決めたらいっそのこと好き嫌いでもいいぜ。まあ適当にやった結果どうなっても知らねえけどや。でもよ、じっくり観察するんだぜ。囚人どもから生み出される歌に。
These are all children. Or like really young people. Like this dude looks the oldest and he looks maybe like 20. So again, really strange that we are deciding the futures of people who normally get treated more fairly or delicately, at least by the law. And here their fates are kind of just thrown to the wind with no regard for fairness or process or anything like that.
全てのヒントは隠されてんだ。映像に、歌詞に、歌声に、奴らの罪の全てが隠されてる。忌まわしき囚人ども、丸裸にしてやんな。まあこんなもんだろ。こっから長い付き合いになるからよ。せいぜい楽しんでくれよな。あ？なんでこんな場所があるのか、ミルグラムって一体何なのか、自分は何者なのか、囚人たちは何者なのか、三振を終えた時に何が起きるのか。余計なことは考えるな。お前たちは看守で、あいつらは囚人。それだけでいい。分かったな。ああ、そろそろ。
So, him saying don't worry about it, that we know all we need to know, and especially after emphasizing how every tiny little detail matters in these videos, him talking in like a really serious, almost threatening voice, is definitely making me think this guy is not like a maid kind of caretaker, but more like a superior officer kind of caretaker, who maybe does maid like things for us because everything about this place is weird. But I'm thinking he is definitely in charge of us, definitely keeping important information from us. And the fact that we aren't informed of that goes to reinforce my theory that we're not here to do the job of justice. We're here to be molded into something or to be experimented on in some way. And I definitely am not trusting that we lost our memory naturally. I definitely think they took it from us.
囚人どもが気づく時間だね。準備はできてるね。ミルグラム第一週開始だ。
All right, that's the first video that we have finally gotten through. Like I said, at least I'm pretty sure I said, there are 5 to go through this tutorial. I'm going to try and get through this one at least, but with this being a 7-minute video, this might be the only thing I get through. We'll see how long it takes. So far, this has been very dense, though. So we'll see how things go. Okay, this is us. Is there anything notable here? We've got the same sort of uniform. It's weird that we have different keys, like wildly different keys around our neck. I only see 5 of them, but I would presume there are 10, and the rest are hidden under our collar. Because it seems like maybe there's 1 per prisoner. It's also weird that we seem to be using manual keys for that, like physical keys for that, rather than some kind of automatic or electronic system or magical system, since we still don't really know. I'm leaning towards technology rather than magic, but in either case, something like that would be easier and maybe more secure even. So it's strange to see them relying on physical, like, old keys.
機嫌よ、囚人諸君。僕の名前は S。この監獄の監視をしている。僕はお前たちの罪を知りたい。それが許せるものなのか、それとも到底許せないものなのか。裁くのが僕の役目なんだ。僕は。
So we're deciding whether they're innocent or undoubtedly guilty. That tells us about the mindset of S here, that if there's any doubt of their guilt, we would rather presume them innocent, which is really a strange mindset to have when you've already imprisoned these people despite knowing nothing about their crimes, or even if they have committed crimes. It definitely seems like the Jackalope and whatever organization we're a part of presumes guilt before innocence. But we seem to have the opposite mindset. We also sound really calm here and like this isn't a big deal to us. We are very much adopting the information that the Jackalope told us and just kind of rolling with it. But it doesn't sound like we're repeating something someone else has said. It sounds like we're truly believing in this. Which makes me wonder if part of the memory being taken from us also made us more compliant or willing to go with the information we've been given. Because I feel like most people, if they woke up with no memory in this situation, wouldn't be quite so willing and unflappable when it comes to deciding the fate of a bunch of strangers. But S doesn't seem to have a problem with that.
S 監獄ミルグラムの監修、それだけは覚えている。
あ、僕は桜井遥と言います。
Just trying to see if there's anything notable, but I don't think so far. It looks like we're going to be getting an overview of all of the characters in this video. So yeah, it's interesting to see. I'm also thinking about how nonsensical this outfit is. Like, it doesn't seem to do anything. It's just kind of like a fashion statement. Like, it looks restrictive, but I don't think any of those straps like actually restrict movement, especially with this pose he's in. It doesn't look like it's restricted. So it's just like there for style, which is a really weird thing to do. It makes me wonder, like, so far we've seen a lot of like pointless embellishment in how this prison works, and it seems like that reflects even to the uniforms of the prisoners. So I guess they're really dedicated to the theme of flashy, weird decisions that aren't based in practicality.
17歳だったと思います。いや、自分の年齢に興味なくてごめんなさい。監視さん、あまり僕に近づかない方がいい。生まれつき人を不幸にすることだけは得意なんです。じゃあどうすればよかったんだよ。
What is happening? Was there anything in that sequence that meant anything? No, just random shapes. He says he has the power to bring misfortune to people around him. Which is a strange belief. Also, he doesn't care about his age. I don't think I've got anything to say about those, except maybe I can't tell if he's being superstitious when he says he has the power to bring misfortune, or if he's thinking he literally has some kind of magic power. If it's the second one, I guess that leans more towards the memory extraction being a magic thing than a technological thing. So I guess very slightly things are leaning in the direction of magic being a thing here. Also, we can't really understand what he's saying. I think it's then that should something I... and then I can't tell the rest. He sounds like he's freaking out as he's talking, though. Something me... tell me so... something I can understand?
私の名前は
Yeah, that was weird.
言うのでいいよ。18歳の高校3年生で。
She sounds really, like, happy-go-lucky about this, which is weird. You'd think she'd be more upset or worried about being in prison.
あとなんだろう。辛い食べ物が好きかな。いい悪いとか看守さんが決めるの。無理だと思うな。ただの好き嫌いでしょ、それって。
I mean, that's what the Jackalope told us to do. But again, it's weird if she's believing that she is so laid back. Also, the video is freaking out again. Is that going to do it for everyone? I can't be bothered, I think. I don't understand what these glitched videos are. We shouldn't be extracting memories yet. But it seems like... And even if we were extracting memories, these aren't music videos. So it doesn't make sense that that would be the memory extraction. But I can't think of what else it would be. Unless maybe part of the reason we're chosen for this is because we are some kind of empath, and what we're seeing is like the inner thoughts of these people.
梶山風太、20歳、大学生。何してんだよ。今度はお前が自己紹介すんのが礼儀だろ。
Also, he's a college student. The last girl was in high school. So I think this is like, that doesn't necessarily mean that this is modern day Earth stuff, but generally I feel like you don't see those kind of educational structures in fantasy stories or even futuristic stories that much. I feel like things tend to change. So I'm thinking that this is probably something based in Earth after all, or something based in something very Earth-like, very close to modern times.
こんなの許されるわけねえだろ。人権侵害だ。絶対訴えてやるからな、てめえ。
Ugh, man, these are so hard to understand. Everyone else has something fun, weren't they? Everyone else was having fun, weren't they? What about them? Was it just me?
名前は楠木ムー。16歳、高校生。怖いこととか痛いことはやめてね。私のしたことが悪いかどうかなんて他の人にはわからないよ。私がどんなに辛い思いをしたかわかりっこないんだもん。
People can't understand what she had to go through. How would they know whether to forgive her or not? Makes me think that she definitely did something, but feels justified in it. But also, she's saying understanding is required to know whether to forgive her or not, which makes it sound like it's not something that is necessarily against the law that she did, just something that's hard to empathize with unless you know the details. Right? It's something for doing horrible things to me. It's something fault for doing horrible things to me.
Kirisaki Shido, 29歳。
29.
他に聞きたいことはありますか？
It's a young 29.
君の目的が何なのかは分かりませんが、こんなまだるっこしい真似は必要ありません。さっさと俺を殺せば済む話ですよ。
Not dead. Yeah. She's definitely not dead. I finally understand the value of what I've been looking people of, robbing people of. It's weird. He's the first confirmation we've got that if we vote guilty, they're killed. Maybe not confirmation, but he seems to think that that's what's going to happen, at least. And it's weird for him to just be like, yeah, just kill me. I wonder if that is him feeling guilty for something. And it's weird here to say, I finally understand the value of what I've been robbing people of, I think. And that someone is definitely not dead, which makes me think that he might have been trying to kill someone. She also sounds way too happy for her situation. I feel like most of these girls have been like way too casual about this, whereas the guys seem more freaked out. It's late. Something is something. I have no idea. 39. This is the guy I guessed was 20. I guess I'm very bad with ages.
君の世代からしたらもうだいぶおじさんだろう。はあ、自分で言ってて嫌になっちゃうね。10人の人間を拉致監禁するなんて君一人でできるわけがないよ。
That is exactly what I'm thinking. That it's weird for one guard to be at 10 or manage 10 prisoners. But at the same time, it's not that crazy, I suppose. I don't know the normal ratio. It seems bad, but also most of these people are children. So maybe that makes it easier.
裏にどんな組織がいるのか、そいつらの目的が何なのか、考えるだけで気が遠くなるね。
I'm so dumb. Why did I have to something? I'm not sure what that last word is. 12. There's a 12-year-old here, potentially being sentenced to death. What the crap?
小学6年生です。これからよろしくお願いします。私の罪と言いますが、今看守さんが行っている行為も犯罪なのではないですか？
So, isn't what you're doing to us a crime? Makes me think that the reason why this seems like a bizarre way to handle criminals in general is because this organization isn't actually in charge of handling criminals. Or if they are, it's kind of like a what's the word? Like an underhanded way of doing it, something hidden that isn't the typical way that they handle criminals, but they have kind of smuggled the criminals here for some kind of unusual treatment as an experiment, whether that's testing out this technology that isn't legal yet, or whether it is something to do with my theory of them erasing our memory and maybe trying to mold or shape us. It sounds like, at least if she's right, that this is not how crime is handled in general, and what we've seen isn't a reflection of the world as much as this specific shady organization.
まあ私は法律よりも大事なものがあると思いますので、それで看守さんを軽蔑したりはしませんよ。
I'm sorry, something. Two R's. I'm sorry, probably. I'm sorry for breaking the something.
Kaya no Mikoto 23歳。いや、それより君さ、こういうの良くないと思うよ。警察とか出てくる前に、
Okay, that's really, really weird. To say to quit before the police get involved. That, I mean, we kind of saw the hints at that from the little girl, but that's confirming that we are not the police. We aren't part of the typical law system because the police haven't sent them here. It kind of sounds like we've just kidnapped 10 random people, and then we're like, we're going to decide if you're guilty of murder or not, and then kill you if you are, based on music videos that we extract from your mind. Yeah, that means that we haven't actually learned anything about society for sure. What we've learned about is MILGRAM and whatever organization is behind it. And that they are not only weird, but they are like causing legal issues.
やめときなよ。いや、本当にわかんないんだよね。僕は一体何の罪を犯したって言うんだろう。監視君知ってる？
Like something. It wasn't supposed to be this way.
ゆずりはことこ、20歳。それ以外は今のところ喋る気はないわ。そちらの手の内がわからない間はね。あなた看守なわけだし、私たちのことをよく知ってるのよね。ねえ、協力しない？私たちの利害は一致するはずだよ。
Something feels so something. This feels so something. This feels so good. Maybe. All right. Well, that was an overview of all the characters. Between that and the first video, we've already gone for an hour, so I think I'm going to call it here. Next time we will hopefully get through the rest of this tutorial and figure out exactly what's going on. So far, things are seeming really confusing and shady. And as far as our job goes, I feel like I'm not really looking forward to passing judgment on random people when we seemingly have no authority to do that. It seems really, really sketchy. So I wonder if they're going to do something to kind of remedy that feeling or make us feel like we need to pass judgment despite that. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm really interested to see. It's been really intriguing. And I want to learn more about the world and these characters and see what's going on. And with that, I'm going to go. Be sure to subscribe if you liked the content and want to see the rest of this series. And let me know what you think. Bye.